And one of the most important pathways is a pathway we call the kynurenine pathway. And it's a bug clearing pathway whose, again, end goal is NAD. It's a derivative of niacin, but its job is to produce NAD. And along the way, it produces two really key things to help us clear these bugs. One is quinolinic acid and one is kynurenine acid. Now, when the body says, okay, there's inflammation, this pathway gets upregulated. But the problem is this pathway is critical to how we make serotonin. And serotonin is our, nice mood, feeling good, happy with the world type neurotransmitter. And so if 95% of our serotonin can go into this pathway, which means we don't have enough tryptophan to make serotonin. So tryptophan is being stolen and we don't have enough for serotonin. And that's why we get sad. That's why chronic illness makes us depressed. And we've had a lot of young kids that have, gone into psychosis after someone trying to deal with gut bugs. So it's, and think also too that most of our serotonin is also made in the gut.
Yeah.
So this pathway is robbing us of important mood enhancing chemicals that we then can't make. And that's why we get depressed.
So if we're under long-term stress and inflammation from leaky gut, from toxins that are impacting our body, from infections, from, any number of things that we've talked about, just that can drive up inflammation in the body, then what happens is we start going down this kynureninic pathway and we start basically taking serotonin and shunting it down this pathway. And we end up with lower levels of serotonin. Serotonin really is a kind of a mood stabilizer, helps us to feel good. And now we become deficient and so less responsive to that. And are you testing is there a way that you can measure this? I know on the organic acid test, I know my team and I will use the Great Plains organic acid test, and we can look at quinolinic acid, kynureninic acid, right? I don't know if I'm saying those exactly the way that you say them. We look at 5-HIAA, which is a breakdown product of serotonin as well, right? So we can actually kind of measure what's happening there. Is that how you're measuring it as well?
Yes, David, it is. So we use the Great Plains organic acids here too. And we pair that with what we know about the person's genetics. So we'll look and say, okay, what are the genes around your serotonin production? And I think I've found an association, those people that have upregulated pathways that, naturally will decrease serotonin levels, they get affected much more when this upregulation happens, because the 5% of tryptophan that is normally going to serotonin production, they don't even get that.
Yeah.
And so I think they fall in a much deeper hole. And
what are some of those pathways? Is that the MOA or the MAO?
MAO.
Right, because that's what breaks down serotonin.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And it also breaks down histamine. And this is another part of this picture because, that's right. So when you get inflammation, mast cells are activated. And what do mast cells do? They release histamine, again, to deal with what's going on with the inflammation. So then you start getting all these systemic effects of histamine production and anxiety, depression, headaches, migraines, premenstrual pain. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And people don't realize that, just being, for example, exposed to mold is a massive trigger. And I don't know if you've seen in the news, but we're in the middle of horrific floods here in Australia.
No, I didn't.
Well, we've got literally towns underwater. The water's just come up and completely covered their roofs. They're sitting on their roofs, being rescued by helicopters. And you have those sort of floods at times in the US too. But what people don't realize is any exposure to water within 24 to 48 hours, you can be building mold behind your walls. And that probably has one of the most detrimental effects to methylation and inflammation, because these mast cells get activated and enzymes get blocked that we need to be working. And you mentioned MAO, or monoamine oxidase. It's critical in histamine breakdown. So if you have a genetic deficiency in your ability to break histamine down or serotonin, then when inflammation strikes, you are going to be really knocked off your perch.
Wow, yeah, this is really important. A lot of people that are listening to this are actually dealing with histamine issues, where a lot of their issues, like you said, headaches, that's a common one. Also, things like skin issues, rashes, flushing can be a common issue associated with this. Fatigue in general, right, can be another issue associated with histamine.
Correct.
And even chronic pain. So there's a lot of different issues that are associated with this. And just kind of understanding these pathways can really help.